So first question, do you want to just start by introducing yourself? Maybe tell me who you are and what your role is in the chapter.
My name is Alex Zygmunt. I am the president of the Humanist Society of Greater Phoenix. I started here, working out here in 2015, just volunteering, and then worked from there. Before my now wife and I moved out here, I had served as on boards in South Carolina. We moved out here for her school to finish at ASU, and one of the things that was important to myself was a sense of community. And before we moved out here, I decided to look up what chapters were available, if there were chapters, stalked their Facebook page and meetup page for a while just to see what kind of events and activities they were doing at the time. And I decided as soon as we moved out here to check them out, go to their facility and see what I could do to help, or at least be part of that community. Found it to be warm, welcoming, and immediately signed a membership check for the two of us. And ever since then, have just been doing what I can to help out.
And is there anything in particular that kind of made you want to take on a leadership position, or were you more just kind of thrust into that situation?
It was not quite a voluntold situation, but I'm one of those types of personalities that I like to do things. So knowing that there was a community that was highly active, had lots of great programs, lots of great events, I wanted to make sure that I was not just attending, but contributing. And whenever I saw the Sunday speaker program that they put on, the various other events that they had going, I immediately decided this is the place for me. And as we've kind of gone about, I like the phrase humanism isn't something that you believe alone, it's something that you do.
So how big is HSGP?
At present, we have around 280 dues paid members, but we have approximately 4,500 on our meetup page. It kind of varies. Many of our members are what we call snowbirds. They'll come in from the north and visit us during the winter where it's nice and warm and beautiful, and then leave whenever it gets a little too warm.
Could you tell me a little bit more about your chapter's focus on action, kind of how it came about and why it's important to you guys?
I'm not sure if it's the Arizona heat that's fried our brains, but all of us have kind of organically come to the decision that, just what I said earlier, that humanism isn't just something you believe, it's something you do. And it seemed like, even whenever I first began, it was very outward focused, right? There were a lot of programs that were inward focused, but wanted to do stuff in the community for the community. Eventually, it came to be that we created a position called the Service and Participation Director for our board, and that program has expanded to do things not just within the community center itself, but going out and visiting other organizations that are aligned with humanism and supporting them where we can, and working with them to be in solidarity with them. One of our local partnerships is the ASU's Project Humanities with Dr. Neil Lester, amazing human being, does a lot of wonderful work for the community, wonderful talks, wonderful homeless outreach. Whenever we see an organization, say for instance like PODAIR in action or Black Lives Matter Phoenix chapter, or whatever it may be, one of the things that we've learned is that we can't invite people in, especially if they don't feel welcome. We have to go to them and say, hey, we support you and we want to do what we can to help, and not take over what you're doing, but add to it wherever we can.
So I'm especially interested, because I just checked out on your website, the Little Free Library and the Little Free Pantry you guys have going on. What's the history there?
So we are sort of situated between a high school and some other schools in the area. And so we have a lot of neighborhood kids that walk past. And our community center, while in Mesa, is in a not particularly economically affluent area, so that we see kids that may not have a full meal. We and then It's also a very highly religious area as well. So, and those religious communities often target these kids. So we want to give them the opportunity for the Little Free Library, so that we have good information getting out into their hands. And also, if they need a snack, if they need a cold water, or if they need a Gatorade or whatever, or even sometimes a can of soup, something like that. Anything that we can do to help in any small way, we try to do what we can.
Open-ended question here, but how is your chapter meeting the moment?
Much of our work, again, is just doing those service projects. One of our long time programs has been crocheting sleeping mats for individuals experiencing homelessness. We've done that for years. We teach classes not only how to make the plarn, but teach people how to crochet itself. And we'll have anywhere from 20, 25 people just sitting in a room, chatting, having a good time, and doing what we can to make those sleeping mats so that people aren't sleeping on hot concrete or wet ground on the rare occasion that it rains here. So yeah, trying to do what we can in a little bit.
Where do you see your organization going in the future, and what's it going to take for you guys to get there?
I'd like to see us work towards more community focused, not being just within ourselves, but going out and being in community. I'd like to see it so that we'd have as many humanist chapters as there are churches. That's my goal. In fact, that was one of the things that a former president and I chatted about, was creating satellite chapters, because not everybody. Phoenix Valley is massive. It covers a huge area. So having a community center in Mesa doesn't necessarily serve the West Valley, North Valley, Southeast Valley, all of that. In fact, one of our friends who during that West Valley initiative started a Northwest chapter for humanism. And amazing human being. It's one of those things, we'd rather collaborate than compete, and it's working out great, because we can say, hey, if you need people here, we can go there. If you want to come visit one of our events, it's available to you. And we want to see a community where everybody supports each other, everybody is available for each other. And one of the things that would really help is that for people who are just interested in our events, really come and check us out. And then if you want, please do join. If you can't join, if it's too far for you, create your own. The more we are in solidarity with each other, the better off we are, I think.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else that you want to share about your chapter? Anything else you want to have highlighted?
I would just say, please check us out on our YouTube channel. All of our Sunday speakers are being live streamed on YouTube whenever we have Sunday speaker meetings. And then, if you can subscribe to the channel, that's a huge help for us. That's something that we're kind of working on right now, is creating kind of a TED Talks type situation where we have good information getting out into the world, and trying to put a good face on humanism.